Yes,
Hey,
sir.
what's going on, Atlanta sports fans? Hawks, Braves, Falcons, even Atlanta United. We finna bring y'all a quick pop up show, man, with our boy Beau, Squid Billy Morgan. And we're gonna talk about some of the things that we've seen in the news lately, and get his thoughts, and we give you our thoughts as well, like we always do.
Right.
But our boy John Higgins is in the chat already. He doing what he doing. Big bro, appreciate you for always tuning in. He said OTAs has started. Kirk Cousins in the building. Now the starter highest paid backup history in the league on the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, that's true. But 330 was good, man.
On three
Squid
there.
gonna probably pop back in a second.
Yeah.
So there
Yeah,
he is right
you
here.
know how that goes. It's how
Yeah,
straight
man.
you are.
Stream yard.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
y'all
but
know how
of
we
course,
do it, man. Go
just
ahead,
like
Chris.
you said, man. Squid Bo Morgan, man, coming in. Hey, first of all, Squid Squad, go ahead and make sure you stand up because you already know who's in the building. So now I am Squid member A1 forever. I don't know what number you guys are, but hey, man, glad to have Bo back, man. It's been too long, Bo. How you been? Yes, sir. The Squid Nation, yes, will provide. Yes, sir. Oh man.
Can't hear you, Bo.
Oh man. What we got going on?
We're gonna work it out.
I'm about to say, Smitty, he having those issues that you be having with them headphones.
Right.
Yeah, man. Yes, sir. Y'all come on in, man. We're
Yeah,
gonna
we're
have
just gonna let Bo get it together, but everybody in chat was good, man. He's gonna come back in soon, and we're gonna get this thing rolling. 330, like I said, what's up? Jay Black, Paul Padone. I hope I pronounced that right. ATL JT, what's good? King Louise, what's good, my guy? Mr. Wallace, what's going on? Miss Pam, what's good? M Dub from Germany, man.
oh yeah, all the way from Germany.
Over in Germany, man. Continue to stay safe over there, man. And you got, let me see you rock that Bijan jersey so I can put it on the community page. And thank you for serving our country, man, because it's crazy out here right now. Boom,
Try to pop out and pop back in, Bo.
boom. What's good, my dude?
You got me now?
A137.
Oh,
Yep,
there you
Yeah.
go.
A1.
All
There we
right.
go.
All right. I don't know what's going on. I apologize, guys. I didn't mean to mess everything up there with my technical difficulties.
Hey, it happened, bro. Chaz, what's up, my guy?
Yeah, this
Go ahead,
weather
Bo.
out here been awkward.
Introduce yourself right quick.
But you guys that don't know me, I host the morning shift on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game with my co-host Mike Johnson, former Alabama Crimson Tide national champion, All-American, and then also former Atlanta Falcon, and Miss Allie Mack, who is I call her the first lady of baseball in Atlanta, because
Facts.
her husband is the ultimate insider, Mr. Grant McCauley, our 92.9 The Game insider, and then I also am the executive producer of the Atlanta Falcons radio network. So anytime you hear a game being done on their own 92.9 The Game and any other station that carries Falcons radio, I'm sitting right in between Arch and West. So that's my
Yes,
seat
sir.
every Sunday. So
Facts.
wherever the Falcons are, we are.
Hey man, busy man right here, busy man. Hey man, but let's get into it, man. So, Bo, I know that we're right here at mandatory OTAs, and we'll get into that. But I got to know, just because it's been so long since I spoke to you, since we really spoke to you, and I got to know back on draft night, the first night, taking those two bookends, like what were your emotions like when it all happened? Just by the time you went to bed, because you like I can't believe we just actually really did it. Like, I mean, how were you feeling?
Yeah, well, I couldn't sleep much that night. Just so you guys know, so let me to get the full range of my emotions. It's a little bit of a long-winded story, and I hate to be long-winded, but
Oh, it's all good.
here's the deal. I got off the air. I was working from home during that time because we had the baby, right? And
Right.
I had committed though to go down to the Benz to do the draft show. And we did the show. We talked about the fact that Jalen Walker would not be there. We all want him, won't be there.
Yeah.
So get off the air. I'm maybe off the air, I don't know, maybe like an hour and a half, something in that range. I know we had a doctor's appointment for her sometime that morning. It was before the doctor's appointment was like 11 or 12, so it couldn't have been long after off the air. And I get a text from a guy that I respect and know, and that no one knows. It's not, and it's a behind the scenes guy, and he was like, "Hey, James Pierce Jr." And I was like, at what was it, 15? I was like, at 15?
Yeah, 15.
I was like,
yeah.
okay, love James Pierce Jr. at 15. Right. And so I went into the draft night thinking, and I heard, I mean, that was the talk the things I heard was everything that Ulbrich and these guys have said about James Pierce since they drafted him. I heard all that, not all of it, but I heard most of that, and that was what was alluded to me.
Right.
So fast forward, we're in there, and Jalen Walker doesn't go to Carolina, and I go, okay, but then Jalen Walker doesn't go to the Saints, who's the other team, and I said, I think we've talked with Archie and Wes and Mike Conscious, I think he could fall, and he starts falling, and he gets to 15, and really got to 14, and I go, oh no, he's going to be here, and they're not going to take him. They're going to take James Pierce. And now, because look, we all know the talk, and believe me, to me, Jalen Walker was the guy. I mean, we all knew that some of the guys at the very Travis Hunters of the world, they were all pipe dreams, right?
Right.
Jalen Walker was the guy, and I'm starting to freak out because I think they're going to pass on him because I had heard James Pierce,
right,
and I'm really worried, and they take the entire amount of time
forever,
which I tend to believe that was them saying, hey, if we can get something for 15 and still get the guy that we've targeted, we're going to do it. We're gonna make sure that we and what I think people need to understand is it doesn't mean that they wanted to pass on Jalen Walker. That's not what that means. It just means we're going to make sure we do the best thing for this organization, and we know now that we have a chance to get a player we never thought we could get, or a boatload for 15, or something for 15, very very much worth our time. And get the player that we really thought would be there and we would be drafting at 15 to begin with. And so some people could say they were always going to trade back. I don't necessarily believe that. I don't think they 100% knew what was going to happen. But to your point, my emotions, I was losing my mind. And then they take Jalen Walker, and I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you. That was what we needed to do, right?
Right.
And we finished up our draft show, which ended at 11, and I'm walking out, and my phone goes off, and it said they're trading back in. And I look at the TV as I looked up, and I go, hey, we need to stop. And obviously we weren't going back on the air, but we need to watch that. And sure enough, man, that's where they take Pierce. And so I was just so happy. I was pumped. I was so excited at that point because I was like, man, I know that we traded next year's first. Who cares? We don't know. I mean, they told you they wouldn't be picking at 8 again this year, and wasn't what we expected, but they weren't. And so, that somehow worked out for us. So I was cool with it. I was excited, and I'm really excited now that you have both of these guys. And I mean, I'll just throw it back on y'all. Surely we don't mess with both these guys. And that's where Nate Ollie, the new D-line coach, who I have a lot of respect for after hearing some of the things and looking at where he's been and what he's done, I have a lot of respect for kind of how he can help develop guys and what he's done in his track record. And I think you got two studs. I think Jalen Walker is a freaking stud. And I think he is so Micah Parsons-esque. James Pierce, to me, is more of a defensive lineman. But Jalen Walker, when I need to, I can use him as a spy. I can use him in coverage. I mean, I don't know if they'll do that immediately, but I just think that there's so much you can do with him. And so I'm so excited. I'm excited about all their picks,
Yeah, no, it was a great draft, man. We've been talking about this draft and been comparing and contrasting to old drafts and everything, man. It's just been so exciting. Honestly, like I know some people be like, hold on, pump your brakes and everything, but honestly, it's just exciting because we did have a great draft. As we've been saying, Terry has been cooking and he went out there and got these groceries, and now it's time to just go ahead and for the coaching staff to be able to get in the kitchen and get these guys in the right position. Smitty, what you got? I know you got some questions too.
Um, I want to comment right quick on what he was saying. Um, I was caught off by surprise a little bit, but
Mhm.
from what I had been hearing the whole night, they were going back and forth. Who to take at 15? Either one of these guys.
Right.
And for them to get both of them, one in the 15 and one at the end of the round, like I always say, man, forget them picks. You got to take a shot right now if you got the guys on the board that you feel like can go ahead and make this team where it needs to be. Because think about it, we
Right.
started 6-3 last year with no pass rush. Now we get two guys to go along with what we have. Add Nate Ollie, who's a guy that was in Indianapolis, got 6+ sacks out of 7 guys. Just imagine what he can do with more talent and speed. And the thing that a lot of people really probably don't think about, like Beau said, these are two different type guys.
Indeed.
You got one with like a Michael Parsons with the speed, the versatility. Then you got the other one with the speed, the power, the pursuit, and James Pierce. So my question to you, Beau, is now that we have these two in the mix, who's going to be on notice during training camp, in your opinion, on this defensive line? Because the edge room is going to get, it's going to be filled to the ceiling. Do you think will be the odd man out?
Well, you go through and you look at what they have, and let's just talk about Floyd, Paris, Ebiketie,
Mhm.
Jalen. You know, it's I'm not really sure if there is an odd guy in those because I think what it creates is that rotation. What you really got to look at is the inside. With you got Morgan Fox coming in here, who I think, and again, y'all hear me out now.
I'm listening.
And I'm really talking to the people in the comments. I know you guys, you feel me, you follow me. But
Oh
he's
yeah,
got to fill a Grady role. He ain't Grady. We
Mhm.
know that. But Grady was not the guy that he was early in his career. And then that maybe coming off an injury, and that's
fact.
fine. But what to me is in training camp, you got to look and see how these guys play. Uh, Look, Jalen Walker is a 3-down linebacker. James Pierce, not as much. Ebiketie, not as much. Leonard Floyd. I think the big thing is you have guys where at one point in time you can have Jalen Walker, um, Ellis, right?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
James Pierce on the field at the same time. You can have Ebiketie at two because Ebiketie can put his hand in the dirt and you can stand these
Yeah.
guys up. It depends on, and we don't 100%. We think we know, right? We think we know what Ulbrich wants to do, but we don't
Right.
really know. You look at James Pierce and you go back to what and the kid's name always, I say kid because he's like 23, and here I
Right.
am almost at
Right.
42 these days. But the kid that they grabbed from Iowa State at New York, and he fits that James Pierce kind of build, right, and what they can do
Right.
with him. And then you've got your linebackers, and there's just so much in there. And you look at Troy. What is Troy Anderson? We don't know what Troy Anderson is. We don't know what he's going to be. I think he's going to be in the middle, and I think honestly they will use Ellis and Anderson in the middle, and then have Jalen Walker. The fact that Ellis hasn't been re-signed is a little bit, and I say re-signed, extended, right?
Very
But I
Yeah.
standard.
don't think they have to cut any of these guys into camp, is what I'm saying. Now, what happens this year? Does Arnold Ebiketie either play himself into a deal where they have to keep him along with these other two? They find a way to keep him with these other two guys on a rookie deal, and maybe now Ellis is the odd man out. That's why Landman is gone, right?
Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
the, but you look at the inside. I need Onyemata to be a guy that steps up. You know,
Absolute facts.
and
Very
and and
low.
I kind of think he's going to take over that leadership. I know Ulbrich likes him a lot. I think he's going to fit that middle role that they want. But you've got Rook and Dorless. Rook to me he flashed, right? He absolutely flashed at times last year. And again, I don't know how many times I have to say injury because it feels like half our roster has that. But there were at times that was an issue, right? There were times where he wasn't on the field. Dorless has got to. I need Brandon Dorless to step up in that interior. But I don't think any of these guys that we've talked about are necessarily on notice. There'll be some guys, some fringe. D'Angelo Malone is the guy that's going to come in here, and if he's going to make this, he's got to continue to grow at that special team spot. He was a real special teams ace last year. But I'm not dodging your question, Smitty. I just don't really necessarily think of those four guys, anybody's necessarily on notice because I don't think anybody. Katie's on a rookie deal. Pierce and Walker on rookie deals. Floyd you brought in here on a 1-year, $10 million deal, and he's a guy that's going to work better in a rotation. So of those guys, I don't necessarily believe that it's one of those deals where there is a we're this guy's on notice and that guy's on notice. I think it's more
maybe I should have said maybe I should have said lost playing time. And one player that you probably didn't talk about that a lot of people ask me about is Braylon Trice. How will he factor in this coming off of ACL injury? How they're going to factor him into the rotation? And this is actually where Nate Olley comes into play. Like I said with Indianapolis, he knows how to rotate guys in and out the lineup. So this is why they went and got a guy like this, and he's going to strengthen the rotation more than anybody just by coaching these guys.
Yeah, it's a great point. Braylon Trice is a great pull because here's the deal. What is he?
Right.
We don't know yet. And what it really allows Braylon Trice to do is not rush, take his time, kind of, figure out what this new staff wants of him. And maybe it's a little bit different than we originally thought they would want from him. When
absolutely,
when you had the old DC in here who's right over my head. That's how much I
Jimmy Lake.
That's
why you forgot.
But Lake. Well, here's the deal. With Jimmy,
he's quite forgettable. I'm sorry.
Jimmy was a little bit different, and I think he's and that sucks because you talk about you talk and say I was around Jimmy, but I wasn't around him. This is around Jimmy, but I wasn't in there face to face. Didn't get a lot of time face to face with him, like I've had with guys like Zach Robinson and Ra and such. Marquise. I've gotten a good time with him. But the thing for me is Braylon Trice just slowly work your way back. There's no rush because remember that happened the first preseason game, and I believe it was the midway through the second quarter. So just take your time to get back.
The quarterback too, though. He was generating some pressure in preseason before he went out.
Yeah, he was, and look, you know what I always heard about him? He's got the dog in him, and I say that I hate that terminology.
I know it's
so overused.
Yes, it's sad. It's oversaturated now.
But the thing is I would talk to people because we're just getting to be around him, and I said, and I actually asked Arch. I said, "What's he like?" Dave Archer. I said, "What's he like?" Because he was around him during one of the interviews, like mini camp last year, and he said, "Man, he's like." He's different. He's got it in his eyes. He talks different about the game, and he loves it. So, Braylon Trice to me is the ultimate just throw in. I hate saying that, but whatever we get out of him is just icing on the cake. I think, and I think that's a little optimistic with me because I'm counting on all these other guys to kind of really step up.
Right. No, seriously. And you were still speaking about Arnold Abacady and how he's on the rookie deal, but he is up in the contract year. Now, I know for me, I've said since with all these different pass rushers coming in, all these different additions, coaching staff, everything, of course, Nate Olley, I believe Nate Olley putting his hand on Arnold Abacady is going to be a great thing, just from his past track record. But for Arnold Abacady, like, he's been like leading the team in sacks. Like how big? I think for me, I see Arnold Abercrombie being able to possibly finally getting those double-digit sacks. I want Arnold Abercrombie to play so well for the Atlanta Falcons, it'll be hard to keep him. Like,
yeah. Well, I look, I do too, because that's the guy that I've sat there and had lunch with, waiting on games to play when we've had some night games on the road, and you can't find a fun, more like just down to earth, solid guy that you'll ever meet. Problem is, where's the help then? And he hasn't had it. And it's one of those deals where this might be the first year he actually gets a really solid, and I don't want to, I'm not trying to really kill guys like Calais. I think Calais Campbell and Bud Dupree did well, but it still wasn't enough here. And whether that was on the interior or not, but to me, Ebiketie is prime now. Size-wise, where's he at? He's not an overly big dude. He's in that 6'2", 250. I think, to me, Braylon Trice is only 6'3", 245. So maybe those guys are going to kind of be interchangeable in those things. Well, hell, James Pierce is bigger, but he's not. He's 6'5", but he's only 245. But that's where the speed sets him apart a little bit.
He looks bigger than that, though, Beau.
Man, when I saw that picture, I thought he was there a bit of
6'5", man.
You're right, man. He
looks
bigger than 245. He looks closer to 260 just as his stature.
But that's where I'm telling you, that's where those bigger dudes, some of them carry it differently. And I think that's where he does. But, I just saw somebody popped in here and said, hey, I can't count on Brandon Dorless. I think one thing needs to be kind of pointed out about Brandon Dorless. Real quick points. I know you guys got more questions. William Amy said that the thing about Dorless was, and I talked to some people after the season, and I said, I'm just perplexed on what Dorless was. And I was told Dorless was what they had planned for him to be. And I said, what do you mean? They had a plan for him that it would be more of a learning year. That was it. They wanted to develop him. They drafted some of those guys last year. I think Root got kind of sprung into action a little bit quicker than they wanted. But part of that was Root. Part of that was Root going up there and saying, look, I'm ready, and showing it. Another part was, well, they needed it. And, injuries and just guys, not playing, didn't necessarily up to it. So to me, I wouldn't sell on Dorless so quickly. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. It's because I don't think that we've seen really what he can be. And they're not lying about Pierce's weight, guys. He wants to weigh as heavy as he can. Trust me, with a guy that speed, the heavier he weighs at the combine, the better.
The slower,
because how fast he ran, how well he did in some of those drills. Those guys want to be, and when they do these workouts, they're D linemen. They don't mind being big as long as that speed's there.
Right. And that's what it is for him, man. Like I said, that's a big individual. It'd be crazy not to ask about our starting quarterback, our young phenom, and Michael Penix Jr. But let's pump our brakes for a second, though, Beau. This is essentially his rookie season. So what do you think we can actually expect from a young quarterback who now has a little bit of film on him? Other teams are going to be taking a look at trying to stop him. What do you think we can expect?
Well, it is his rookie year, and I was big on that with Desmond too, right? I mean, now it's his second year, but it's technically his first year as a starter, and you pointed out, guys are going to kind of watch some of the things that he's done. Guys are going to kind of see. They're going to get. It's a small book, but it's still a little bit of a book.
Right.
The first thing and the easiest thing for people to point to is, leadership, right, and how he steps up in that role. That I have no concerns about that, because I think Michael Penix is one of those guys that you be around and you watch him lead. And I watched it last year in OTAs. We had an OTA last year that we got to go to, and he's over here with the twos, and Kirk's over here with the ones, and he's just was running the show, right? Ball was coming out quick. He was doing this thing. Well, now it's amped up. Not only is he with the ones and he's developing that chemistry, but that leadership with those guys. So right off the bat, your leadership is going to be completely different. The chemistry is going to be different. The timing is going to be better, which to me, everything was made about Raheem Morris's timeouts. But what if I told you that you would have won the game if it played out the exact same way if Penix was a little bit more accurate on a couple of throws? Maybe it was timing, guys. I'm not here to criticize. I'm not a quarterback. I'm not a quarterback coach. I didn't even pretend to play quarterback anywhere. The only time I ever played quarterback was when I was a little kid and I'd throw the football up and try to run underneath it and catch it myself. That's that's just the bottom line, all right? And I probably got intercepted on some of those passes with the ghost DB. But here's the deal. He missed Drake London in the end of that first half in the end zone, right in front of us. That's a touchdown. That's a wide open touchdown.
He did.
It happens. The one he really can't miss was that sequence of the last in regulation where they get the ball back and they're driving and they end up kicking a field goal, which somehow is short. Anyways, I'm not here to ridicule kickers that won't be here this year, but he's got Mooney. They don't call the timeout, right? And he's got Mooney on what I call a bench route. You can call it a crossing route. I mean, whatever, an out, whatever. It was across the field, more of a bench route. And he's got him. The ball, he's open, but he overthrows him. Yep. And if he hits him, Mooney's got 3 feet in, and he's out of bounds. And you don't need the timeout right now. Now you can come up and you can maybe get another throw in the middle and then use a timeout there, and boom, you kick a field goal. It's a manageable field goal. And if it's the exact same field goal, 15 yards closer, it's in. I mean, 10 yards closer, I think it would have been in. Yeah. So to me, that's the number one thing that I need to see is that timing. And I think some of that will be there. I think some of that's chemistry. I think some of that was rust. But that is one thing. And, I saw some people going to say, the arm talent. Dude, the arm talent, we haven't had that arm talent at quarterback since Vic. I mean, Vic could flick. It was different with Vic because Vic could throw the ball 90 yards on a freaking dime, but he couldn't hit you on a 10-yard crossing route because that touch, right? And that some of that was Mike putting a little bit of extra work and maybe understanding what the defense was doing more, whatever. I'm not here to revisionist history and criticize one of the players that I've enjoyed watching more than anybody else in my life. But the reality is that was it. But Penix does have a touch. And I don't think those misses last year were necessarily a touch. But I expect those throws to really separate him. I mean, go back and look. You talked about the book, right? And the book's going to be there. But the ability for him to read defenses, even as a guy who was in his second start, it was phenomenal. The throw to Pitts is more about Michael Penix than it is anybody else.
Right.
Because he was a pre-snap read. He saw where they were going to be or what the defense was going to be. He knew his job was to look off the safety to keep him away out of the middle of the field, and he knew he could, beat the defender in there with that throw. And we all could have caught that. No offense to Kyle.
Yeah,
it was a good route. Kyle ran a good route there.
I was really thinking that,
but that ball was stuck, and it was great to see. So I just think a little bit of maturity in a couple of the spots with Michael that comes with playing. It's playing time. Some of that is straight up playing time, and that's all it is. And chemistry, and I think they've worked on some of these things. I know he's been throwing to Kyle. That's been documented. So, boy, it makes me excited.
Speaking of Kyle, I'm glad you talked about Kyle.
Go ahead, brother.
I've been saying to myself on the show for a while. Is Kyle, and Kyle said it himself, this is his first offseason going into the offseason with the same quarterback. Will he finally turn that corner and we get back to the 2021 Kyle Pitts?
Man, that is a loaded question because I think that question depends on Kyle as much as anybody.
Absolutely.
let's do it two ways. I'm gonna say something and I'm gonna counter my own statement,
Okay.
and because I want to be fair to Kyle Pitts, because at times I feel like I'm a little hard on him, but it's personal to me because you guys know I've always been a Florida fan, and I got to watch Kyle
Right.
play for years, and I was in love with the draft pick, even though I knew it wasn't necessarily what we needed at the time. I still loved it.
Yep.
Kyle Pitts is going to have his first quarterback, as you said, the same guy ever. He's also going to have, to me, the best. And I think we're coming in with Kirk last year, but he's going to have a guy that I think has the ability to put the ball in there better than anybody. And since Matt, and I know Matt was arm strength, but Matt put the ball in there on Kyle on some of those deep throws early in his career.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's great. Brock Bowers just had 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns or something with Desmond Ridder, Gardner Minshew, a couple
I played a snap.
Yeah, right. I mean, we all had one. I think I went in there that Monday night game and ran one snap. Just
I thought I seen you. I was at that game.
Well, that's how bad Kirk was playing. We could do that, but so I don't know. Kyle Pitts' his first time. I don't know. Is it his first? It's 2 years removed from the ACL and what was maybe a PCL or something. So maybe that's been a difference. However, last time I checked, pulling up on routes early doesn't have anything to do with that. That's, I think that, I know I got his head ACL surgery. That's more of a stopping, cutting, and there is some pain, but the top end part's pretty easy. So maybe the soreness has hurt him a little bit with being able to practice every day in the off season, and maybe go 100%. Maybe a little bit of that has been he's just not really being full. This is going to be the best to me he's had with a quarterback that can fit it in there with targets that we know are going to garner more attention than him. However, I need to see him block.
Absolutely.
With effort, okay? Because
consistent.
I ain't here. Well, look, I'm not here to hear this. Well, he shouldn't be asked to block. Well, then he's not a tight end.
Right.
Okay, he's a wide receiver, and he's gonna be
right.
And then don't complain because you don't, and also don't complain about the matchup. If I can't put him into block, then how can I put him in and get the best matchup? I mean, I don't know. Some guys say this all matchup. Guess what? Kyle Pitts doesn't go on the field and be like, "Hey, you got to guard me because you're a linebacker," and I that's the best matchup for us. That's not how it works. Right. Guys, that's how it works. And if they're not seeing what they need from him, then here's what they're going to do. They're not going to play him fully snaps, and they're not going to trust him in those situations. And I need him to catch the ball in his hands. But then again, maybe some of that changes because he has a chemistry and a trust that he hasn't had before with the quarterback. Maybe. I know he had it with Trask. So, maybe Darnell being there and Bajan, and you have Drake, and maybe is it Savage kid? Maybe if he can come in here, maybe Kadero Hodge, it takes a bigger role. So there's this so much that that maybe could change things for him, but I don't know. I really don't know. But I will tell you the best answer for me is only Kyle Pitts knows. Because Kyle Pitts has to want that contract, and I don't know even if he balls out that this is the place he gets it. I just don't know because I don't know if I have that trust moving forward.
Absolute facts.
That's definitely fair, especially when they said about even if he balls, it's not the guarantee we're going to give him, let's say, Trey McBride money. Yeah,
and you have 5 years. You have let's say he gets 900 yards and 8 touchdowns. I would take that in a heartbeat. I think we all would, right?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Well, I've got 2 years of an injury, which I that's not on him, and then 2 years of man. So I don't know what I got. You know, I don't know what to make of it. And I've got Drake that I think is pretty much shown he needs another deal. You gotta mess with Jesse's contract soon. Maybe Caden Ellis is balled out, so maybe you gotta mess with that. So I just think that it's a lot for me. But John Robinson's going to be coming up soon, and you want to go ahead and get him. And Mariota, you can say got him hurt. The problem is that throw was across the middle, and you had a guy that wasn't head hunting. He was knee hunting.
He was knee
And
hunting.
that was the only way he was going to get Kyle down. So
he would have got ran over.
That's part of the game is throwing across the middle. You know?
Yeah, it was. And the thing about it, and we've heard this and we know this, when you go across the middle, it's pretty much open season. That those guys have the right to tee off as much as they possibly can within the rules. So well, man, I mean, I do want to switch gears a little bit. I know, man, it's hard getting off of that Falcon football, but I did want to switch gears to the Atlanta Hawks quickly and just talking about the fact that how we have 2 picks this year, and we had to pull it out the fire to get these 2 picks, honestly, and things had to go our way completely. But we have them, 13 and 22. I just want to know, in your opinion, like, are there any guys that you're looking at those particular positions, or is there just specific positions you're looking at 13 and 22?
Well, what's going to be there, and the NBA draft is such a it's so just wide open, right? Mm-hmm. You just don't know what you're going to get. Is there a couple of guys that I got my eye on? Not necessarily. I think I need to know what. It's weird because Salah just announced Dinwiddie and was it Griffin? I think that's not Griffin. That's the other guy from the Pelicans. Anyways, those guys come in right as their roles they come in at, and I looked at it and I said, they're going, and then they're going to bring in a president to complement Ansi. So he's the guy,
right? Like,
he's straight up the dude, and it's interesting because you've got Dyson and Dyson. Yep. I don't think there's been an addition in Atlanta sports since Jesse Bates like Dyson. And I know it's only a couple years, but Jesse came in and immediately made our defense better. And so,
right.
So that's what Dyson did. And we got a chance to Graham is the guy from Bucks. Thank
Graham
you,
from
Dixon.
And Dinwiddie from the Sixers.
Yeah. And so I never know what this organization is going to do because I don't know what Salah wants to do. Like, you're going to get Jalen back. I know. What is Kobe Buffkin? I don't know. And can you depend on that? Or we know that it would be nice to get Trey some help when he does come off the floor, which you haven't had. So the Hawks, man, I don't know.
With the hiring of those 2 guys, though, me and Chris talked about this extensively. Is that somewhat of a sign that Danny Ferry could be around the corner to come back?
Well, can I ask y'all a question before you finish?
What's that?
How you feel about Danny Ferry? I know how I feel, but how do Hawks fans remember Danny Ferry?
That incident with that email, I get that part.
But I just mean as a guy in charge.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I mean, he put together that 2016 team that we went to the Eastern Conference.
No, it was 2. Right. He started that actually.
It was 14.
Sorry. Yeah, he started. He started building that team.
He put that team together.
Right.
And I know that Larry Drew was the coach while he was putting the things together. Then we moved away from Larry Drew, got Coach Bud, brought him in, and had a season. And then there's like after that, it was magic. And Danny Ferry did put that team together.
He did. And I actually, that's why I asked y'all how y'all remember Danny Ferry, because I know how I remember Danny Ferry. And I kind of like y'all, I think the time has gone by. Everybody has second chances are a thing in this country, and it should be everywhere. And so I'm good with them, right? I think there's been a lot of guys that have gotten second chances.
Right, that's true.
I thought he was a good GM. I did. I thought he did some good things. I don't know how he comes in and because he put a team together there was no superstars on that team.
Yeah.
There really weren't.
No.
And so what does he do? I can tell you one thing. I have a feeling the first thing he does is he's like, all right, what are we doing with Capella? What are we doing with some of these guys? I love what are we doing with Niang? I think he would try to keep George's Niang. I would. I loved what that guy brought. Now, I just think you go
Chris
and you
don't
look.
like that.
You don't like Niang?
George Niang. I
Yeah.
mean, minivan is cool,
Oh,
man.
man.
It's just I don't like him on defense. I love him on offense, but of course, he's never going to be the fleetest of foot laterally. So when it comes to some guys pressing down on him, driving in the paint, that he's just not going to be able to do that.
You know why I'm laughing? Because I remember watching
man.
him. I remember watching him at college at Iowa State, and I was watching him with a good buddy of mine, and he said that's the slowest damn guy. I mean, if you're looking for him to get up, and he is slow as Christmas, but man, he can shoot, and he can. He can. And
but he got to be on though. Because we've seen games this year when minivan was kind of off, and it hurt us on both ends of the floor.
You guys are calling me. Let me tell you. That's great. Yeah, he is. He's minivan. You call him LA Fitness too. But look, does Riche put on a little bit, right, to maybe counter to make sure that he's a guy that can continue to grow. Absolutely. But I would love Danny Ferry coming back. I just think it would be great. And but the thing is Danny's one of these guys now that's kind of, is he kind of come in here and want to be the man, or does he want to work with Salah, right?
Right.
Does him and Ansi have the relationship? Maybe they do. I don't know.
I know that Danny and Graham worked together back in New Orleans, and I do know that Danny Ferry and Quinn Snyder were former teammates back at Duke.
Yeah.
So there is a relationship there to where it's like he has people that he knows there. Anzi may be the guy that's kind of like unfamiliar, the stranger of the group, maybe Peter, who knows. But at the same time, at least he does have people there that he is used to. And at the end of the day, it's like, are you going to have Ansi be the guy? Which I have no problem with. But we still do have that open slot of that president of basketball operations. I just know relationships mean everything. And I wouldn't be surprised. I just wouldn't be surprised.
Look, I wouldn't be either. And they do. We see that in all walks of sports. The outrage with Ulbrich coming back.
Right.
Freddie Gonzalez coming back to the Braves.
Outrage with Raheem. Some people were mad about Raheem.
Yeah, which always irritated me a little bit because I know what Raheem was, and I know how players felt about him, right. And so I thought people were upset about that. I think I understand why Falcons fans were where they were last year. And I understood that, but I'm a big fan of Raheem Morris, and I don't know. I want to win because I haven't been in the playoffs in so long, and I'm a Falcons guy through and through. I'm a Atlanta sports guy when it comes to the Braves, Falcons, the Hawks, United. But that said, I hope I just want it for him so badly. I would sacrifice this Braves season for the Falcons. Trust me.
Man, I know that's right. I'll tell you one thing too. Just staying real quick on the Hawks, and then I know I just got a quick Braves question. I think Smitty does too, and everything. But just staying with the Hawks though. How much pressure now that we have new guys coming into this front office? How much pressure is on Quinn Snyder to get this thing together after the groceries have been picked and? So he should be comfortable now within the team. So it's just like, how much pressure is on Quinn? Because a lot of people do want Quinn gone.
Yeah, I think more pressure because you have a new, so to speak, new GM, right?
Right.
I mean, I think Salah being here, I think that's, and when there's new guys in here, no matter where they came from, I think it puts pressure because remember, guys knowing each other. Doesn't always mean they loved each other. They're familiar with each other.
True.
And that is part of it. But I think there's pressure. You can't miss. I don't think you can miss playoffs again. I just don't. I really don't. And I like Quinn. I think Quinn's he's different, man. Those Sally Jesse Raphael glasses are different. But that said, I think he's a hell of a coach. I do think he's a good coach. Now, that doesn't matter when you have a guy like Trey, who many consider a superstar, and I think he played at that level last year with the numbers he put up. But then that who's responsible at the end? Trey's not going anywhere. I don't believe not unless he wants to go somewhere. So
Right.
the team's not in this unless Danny Ferry's like, yeah, this ain't working. But I don't see that because Salah has to do that. I think again, whoever comes in that role has got to work with him, and they've got to compliment him. Is the way I was. You kind of heard it from some people. Whether that's true or not, it just makes it very interesting. But I definitely think he's on the hot seat, and it's. You know what? I'm not a fire the coach guy,
Right.
but it's hard to argue with that. Missing the playoffs this year and being in the play-in every year, and I'm sorry, being in the play-in and not making the first round is missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think they would tell you that too. I think most of those players and coaches and front office guys would tell you that too. If they were being honest, they would.
Right, and the Hawks have a nice core to go with what they have with Trey Young, with Jalen Johnson, Ricochet, and Dyson Daniels. So they have a nice core. So all they do is to me get a big man. But you talked about familiarity. You talked about Freddie Gonzalez coming back. And I asked Chris this, and I talked about this. Could he be sliding in the back door to become the next Braves manager? Because I could actually see that. Because I've seen them do that before.
No, I don't think so. I don't think you. I don't think you bring in a guy that you fired and replace him with to then say, hey, when you go to the pasture, we're gonna, which he's probably gonna be after this season's. I don't think you're gonna fire Brian Sinker, but I think Brian Sinker will probably be done and walk away. I don't think so. I think you nailed it though, familiarity. But the familiarity is in a different way. This is a guy that is familiar with Snit. And with the front office guys, with not all of them, but just with AA for sure. We know he knows AA, but he's familiar with Snit, and that's what matters because you're making a midseason change at it's a pretty important spot as the third base coach, and so you got friends, and friends know how to talk to friends, right? They know how to coexist, and I know what you're looking for, and you know what I'm looking for when we have familiarity, when we have a working relationship, which they do, and they're friends too. So no, I don't believe he's coming back. I just believe that was a move that was like, we've got to do something, we've got to change something. What's the easiest way to make this work? We're not in a good spot already. Easiest thing is to slot a guy that's not in baseball and can come in here, knows us, knows you, knows. Right. I don't think he really knows any of these players, to be honest, because maybe Ozzy, but not even Ozzy, because Ozzy came up to 17. He was already, he's
been going on almost a decade. So
so it was really just more with Snit and a couple of the guys in the Walt and Weiss and a couple of guys in the coaching staff. But that being said, I don't know where they go for the next manager because I don't necessarily believe Mark. I'm not saying he won't be. But I say Dan Johnson thinks Mark DeRosa. I don't know about that either. Why would Mark DeRosa want to leave the MLB Network? Making easy money.
Easy money.
That's what I said about Bob Myers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna tell you something. Chipper ain't gonna do it either. So Chipper ain't gonna do it. I just don't. Chipper's got young children. He's got a couple of kids that have already grown up and. But he's got some young kids with his wife, his current wife, and I know they're happy. And I hear Chipper talk all the time, and I think he's loving life, and that's why I think he stepped back a little bit from being a guy that was so active early on. When he got out with hitting and stuff. I don't know how much of that he's doing anymore. Maybe he should, but. So I don't know where they go. I would like to see something a little bit just kind of outside the box. I wanted that with Snit, but I don't know where they're going. But I don't think it's Freddie. I just don't. I don't. I don't. And look, real quick to put a bow on it, Smitty. Let's say they miss the playoffs and they do finish under 500, and Stick goes, I'm going to retire. I think the way this season played out, you can't afford that, because that is kind of look, Snicker got the job not because they were just trying to keep things in house, but because they made him the interim and he won over the players and he won the job. And
there you go.
Right.
That changed because they brought up young players and things started working. So that to me is why he got the job. I don't think anybody on the staff personally would get it. I'm sure AA might text Chipper as a joke, like, "Ha ha, you want the job? Ha ha," and Chipper's like, "Yeah, I'm good." And then, but if he said, "I don't know," wait, what? Let's talk. So.
Yeah, I got a crazy question for you. Now, walk with me on this. Walk with me on this. All right. For the last month and a half, behind the scenes, I've been having conversations with other Braves fans and everything like that. They all call me crazy, and I understand why. But I think we should trade Marcell Ozuna, and the reason why is because, for one thing, he's a valuable player. I believe you could get something valuable for him. Also, I feel like if he was going to be a Brave anymore past this season, he would have already been signed because of Alex Anthopoulos' track record.
Absolutely.
And that's where I'm like, I feel like Marcell may be on the way out anyway.
Okay. I don't think you're crazy. I think you're looking at the fact that you have a guy who is one of the better hitters on the team. Mm-hmm. Probably, let's just say, third best hitter right now. I mean, I know Ronnie's there. And I take Ronnie out of the equation because, to me, he's still coming back. There's no doubt, healthy, he's the best player on the team. He's the best hitter. He's the second best outfielder. He's the best base runner. Blah, blah, blah. We can just go through it and give him all his flowers that he wants.
His talent.
Yeah. That's the best way to put it, right? That's the shortest way to get there. Look at you. Look at you. Get there quickly. I want to be long-winded. Chris, you just getting right there with me.
Hey, man, I learned from you guys, man. I'm sorry.
Well, you didn't learn from me because I'm long-winded as hell. But Marcell, here's the deal. Marcell's got a bad hip tear, devalue. Expiring contract, devalue a little bit. So what am I getting for Marcell? And you've got a really good point about the track record of Alex. However, how long did Marcell go as a free agent when they signed him in 21?
It's been a while.
Because in 20 he came over here and then boom. So maybe they get through this season and they say, all right, well, sure, you had an on base percentage near 400, which is phenomenal, especially for Marcell. And you cut down on your strikeouts, but your home runs were down, your RBIs were down. Now, and you kind of were showing wear and tear, and you need surgery. Yeah. So we don't think the value is going to be as much for you. So we'll bring you back and we got Drake.
Yeah.
So,
still paying Sean Murphy. So
and it's not. And look, the Sean Murphy thing is way blown out of proportion.
It is.
Last year he was bad. There's no lie. Injuries helped that. This year's been better. Defense has been very good, what you expect. Unless the pitcher. Unless you set up inside and the pitcher throws the ball in the dirt outside, it bounces down there, which is almost impossible to get to. But still, hey, got to find a way to get there. But wild pitch, pass ball, it was a wild pitch. I still would have seen him get it, but I understand. But so you've got a little bit of, you've got some things, you've got some stuff to use. You got some leverage. Also, I would argue that Austin Riley needs to wake up. He's been pretty good the last week and a half. So. Not from y'all, but that was one of the comments. I'm reading the comments as you guys. Guys, I can't help myself.
The thing about it is, too, I'm tripping about how people are jumping on Ronnie since he's been back, saying that he messed up the chemistry. We're talking about somebody that's hitting 305 right now. Somebody that's had 5 home runs.
They
8
don't watch
RBIs.
baseball.
Like,
They don't watch
what are we
baseball.
talking about here? This is your best talent on the team when healthy.
Okay, let's go through it. You have a hole in left field. Agree?
Agree.
Yeah.
You have a hole at shortstop from the plate. Great glove. It's a hole. Right now, Ozzy is I know that Ozzy's got like a 20 game on base streak or something.
Mm-hmm.
He's been brutal. He's been brutal at the plate. He's had some terrible at bats, and he's been bad in the field. There's a hole. You know, and so, you know, those are 3 major holes in the lineup. That's 3 spots. Boom. And Ronald he has had moments, you know, games where he struggled, but he's also had games where he gave you what you needed. So,
right.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of less jumping on Ronald. The chemistry. I think a baseball locker room or clubhouse is different. It's not, you know, it's not the same. It's just not. And, you know, you've got Matt Olson is a guy that gets just murdered because he's not Freddie. Matt leads the team in home runs, leads the team in RBIs, leads the team in WAR, leads the team in doubles. It was like I went through it and I listed it. And I don't have my notepad on me because I left it on my desk at the station. But I went through and wrote down Matt Olson leads the team in this, and you know who was second almost every time? Austin Riley.
Austin Riley.
So
okay. Yeah,
those are the 2 guys making 21 and 21 is their average annual value, and so
Austin Riley.
And look, I think all these guys at times have been ice cold. That's the problem. Too many guys have been ice cold at once. And look, I missed the spot. Michael Harris is a hole in the lineup too,
bro. Yes.
So there's your 4th.
Yes.
I love Monty Harris. You can't beat the glove.
You can't.
But he's been an offensive hole for 2 seasons now, and it has not been. It's been bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bad. So 4 of your 9 hitters are pretty bad, and I don't know how you make a lineup card with that. I really don't. It's tough.
It's funny you said that because it brings me back to another Atlanta Brave, former Atlanta Brave, and Jason Hayward, who we got straight out of high school. And Michael Harris is slowly turning into Jason Hayward, and I hate to say that.
I feel like BJ Upton in there. I don't want to do him like that.
Yeah, well, he's not a cancer in the locker room. Like
no, it's not that. I'm just
and he's a little bit better defensively. Well, a lot better. But no, I know what you mean. I don't, and I understand the sentiment. But I'll tell you, the Hayward thing unfortunately rings home too true because of the hometown guy, and that's what sucks, man. Is I don't want to sit here and be hard on or talk like unappreciative of what it is Michael Harris does in the outfield night in and night out with his glove, because it feels like dirty, right? And I don't want to be the just rag on a couple of players guy or fire the coach guy. I want to be fair to everybody, and I think it's important to be fair to everybody, but he's not been good at the plate, and you need more. And when you have 4 holes and a 4 of your 9 hitters are pretty bad, it's going to affect the other guys. It just is. And because guys don't get pitches anymore. That's why guys start getting pitched around. And if I have Ozuna up and there's Ozzy, I'm not gonna give Ozuna anything to hit.
Right.
So changes things. And if there's 2 outs and it's Olsen coming up, I'm not going to give him anything to hit. And if depending on what the base is doing, I'm not going to give Ozuna anything to hit. Now Ozzy's not going to give me a great at bat from the left side of the plate. So
it's been brutal, like you said, man. It's crazy because, like, I don't know. To me, it feels like this year's Braves are similar to last year's Braves as far as the leaving their guys on base, as far as the inconsistencies with the bats, as far as up and down with the bullpen. it just reminds me so much of last year, you know, and it's just, you know, so like, am I crazy for feeling like that, or do you feel something similar?
No, I think it's right. I think you got a good point. It feels like last year, because of the way the offense is playing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've lost AJ and Ronaldo to injury, you know, in your rotation, and it sucks because, you know, those are the guys you don't, and you never. But then again, the difference in this year and last year is this year I don't know if it was Liberty. I tend to think it was Liberty media not allowing them to spend to the point they wanted to. But, you know, you didn't. This started in November because you didn't
Right.
replace Jimenez, you didn't replace Mentor, and I think that left you in a tough spot. I think you expected Grant Holmes at some point to maybe move once AJ and Ronaldo gets here. He's here, and then maybe Strider comes back, and then maybe you have a combination of AJ Smith-Shawver or Elder or whatever. Who Elders has been phenomenal, and I think you can move Grant Holmes back to the bullpen because he doesn't have any options. So you can kind of transition him to be a long relief, kind of help things out. You know, give you 2 innings every other night or something. You don't have that because you got to rely on him right now.
Right now,
To be your your
I
fifth
think he's
starter.
the starter tonight.
Yeah. So I think the lack of moves made in the offseason set this up
Hurts
more than injuries did, whereas injuries set this up last year more. And the Profar stuff too just sucked.
Oh, that was what we didn't need. That Profar thing that hurt, but also I think coming into it before, you know, everything, the domino effect started to happen. I feel like Alex was like, okay, we're not going to go into this huge luxury tax. The money kind of like restarts next year. We'll have more flexibility, and I feel like that's what he was thinking. He never thought that, oh yeah, Profar is going to test dirty. He never thought, oh, Strider's going to come back. And I know he had that brace. And it's a fun fact because, you know, most pitchers who get that brace never pitch again. Like, it's a high percentage that never pitch again.
Yeah.
And now Strider has that brace. His velocity and everything is slowed down. He was used to be like 99 to 100 on a daily. And now he's more 95, 93. But I know he's still coming back too.
He's got some 96. He's got some 97, but it's a slow build. He's relearning kind of what it is to do that, and he's going to have to get his location there. That's going to have to be something to me that's kind of tough for him, right? Is trying to learn it. And look, I've said since day one, not that I'm not a genius of any sorts. I don't claim to be. I just have opinions, and they pan out sometimes because I try to base them off of, you know, learning everything I can about what I'm talking about. But from day one, he's got to perfect another out pitch. You know, I know he worked on that curve before he had the Tommy surgery or the brace. And, you know, where is that at? That slider's got to be good for him. That changeup, you know, he's got to he can't be a guy that's predominantly 2.5 pitches, right? He's got to have that 4. That's why Schwellenbach is so great, is because Schwellenbach is the guy that has 6 pitches. And let's be fair, he uses all of them. I mean, it's like 20%, 18%, 14, 16. He uses all these pitches, and I don't know where the numbers ended up adding up, so don't do the math on me there. But when you get to it, they're all within. I don't think he uses any pitch over like 25%. So that's why
he's very well equipped, and I like that about Swelly. And I believe, honestly, with Swelly, man, I know this season it's kind of been. It's still early, man. I still believe he can be a Cy Young candidate. If not this year, definitely next year. He has the tools. He has the talent. I just think, you know what I'm saying, once he just gains full control of everything, I think this guy's going to be Chris Sale-like, you know. And speaking of, shout out to him last night too, because we needed that. But you know,
oh man, Sales, it's almost like he got mad at Bryce Elder. He's like, "Oh, you trying to outdo me? I'll go get, you know, I'll go pitch my own gym." It was great. I love it. I love the competition.
Now I was about to say that's how Maddox, Glavine, and Smokes used to be. So
yeah,
I love it.
Oh yeah, and Maddox, all these guys, they were all competing with each other as much as anything. So I love it.
Indeed, man. Beau, I'm not gonna lie to you. I know we said 30 minutes. This thing went an hour, but it's how it is when you're talking Atlanta sports. I know we're Atlanta kids, you know, so me, you, and Smitty, like as far as just Georgia kids and everything. So it's very easy for this thing to go and roll on over. But I want to say thank you again for joining us, brother. We're going to try to definitely get you back on before the season starts. And have some fun. Of course, and I'll reach out to you for sure. But please, by all means, people, y'all are witnessing Squid Billy Nation right here at its finest. Beau Morgan, man, thank you for coming through so much, man.
Well, I'll always come on for you. You know that. You and I have been talking for years, and I really appreciate what you and Smitty do. I think it's great that we have another podcast out there that's Atlanta centric. And I respect the hell out of you guys because y'all do it the right way, and y'all, some guys do things that I don't love, and they just kind of throw stuff on the wall. But you guys just want to talk sports. You want to have fun about it, and you just kind of keep it what's here and talk about what we know, and not kind of make things or try to be these newsbreakers when and it's just, you don't put people in bad spots. You're awesome, and I love you guys to death. I'll always come on with you guys. So all you gotta do, and this, and for all your the people that are watching and listening, I appreciate y'all too. But Chris will hit me up, and I'll be like, "Yeah, man, I got you." He'll be like, "All right, this week, oh man, can we do next week?" Yeah, I got you. And Chris hit me up, and I'll say, "I don't know, man. Can you do this time?" Man, that's tight. Okay. Well, what about that? And like, so we'll go back and forth for like 3 weeks, and it's ridiculous because it's not Chris. I'm trying to get on with you guys. I'm not always good with my time management outside of the radio station,
man.
But always with you guys. Let's get together. You know, maybe the off week before the season or the week leading into the season of the regular season, and let's do this again because we can break down what the Braves are then. Maybe what moves the Hawks made in the draft and free agency, if anything, they got money to spend, and then we'll know where our Falcons stand. And I can't wait. I always love talking to you guys. Anytime you guys need me, let's just hit me up and let's do this because we interact with the same people, and so it's a pleasure to do it.
Thank you so much again, brother. As always, hey, one thing about it, I can always say if there's one person, I mean, it's a few people, but my thing is if there's one person that I can say to always, had my back, looked out for me, it's definitely Beau Morgan, man. So when one day when I'm having an acceptance speech, I gotta make sure I put you in there.
Hey man, it would be an honor. I appreciate you so much. Thank y'all for having me.
All right, enjoy your rest of your evening, brother.
You too. Take care, guys.
Yes, sir. Of course, as y'all know, that was Beau Squid Billy Morgan of 92.9 The Game. You can catch him out on the morning shift in the morning times. So if you're up in the morning riding that bumper to bumper, yes, Ryan, that was a plug, and everything like that. Hey, you can always check out the morning shift with Beau Morgan, Mike Johnson, and so that whole entire crew is just dope, honestly. So check them out, so when you get the chance. For those who wonder what the heck happened to Smitty, no, it wasn't chicken wings this time. Honestly, the storm is bad out there right now. And, so they got Smitty, of course, StreamYard. And so you got your boy A1 about to close out the show. Of course, I always say positive energy always creates elevation. So make sure you find your peace today. It's almost 8 o'clock at night. So I'm hoping that you got that. And, of course, you can find me on the Hawks Digest and also at A1 Forever Sports. Please come over to both platforms, like, comment, and subscribe. Have a basketball conversation, football, baseball, whatever it have you, you can find it over at A1 Forever Sports. And of course, for my man Smitty, you can always find him at Smitty Sports Machine. Make sure you come on over and like, comment, and subscribe for my man Smitty. Getting close to 15K. That's a big achievement, man. And one day, hopefully, I'm there as well. But my man is almost to 15K. Make sure you guys, come over to Smitty Sports Machine. And until next time, guys, don't know how in the world I'm fit to end this, but I'm gonna try my best because I don't have the ending controls. But I'm gonna talk to y'all later in a minute, man. Peace and blessings to you all. Until you all, I'll holler. Smitty, how the heck I'm supposed to end this thing? This man talking about some end the show. I ain't even got the controls.